Welcome, Warriors, back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2, the 1% Club, and I hope you guys are on your plan, your purpose, doing well. I appreciate all the comments and the feedback, and subscriptions, donations, likes, those type of things, dislikes. I appreciate all of that. Um, and so I want to kind of focus on this one, focusing on a response back to a video that we did on I think a few weeks back, talking about that men really want feminine women. And so I'm going to go back to some of the comments that Lynn had, and also Thelma. Thelma did a nice job of kind of laying out her argument, and I respect her tone, and I appreciate that as well. So let me say a few things about all of this, because she was basically saying that a person of God would not be talking like this, and using the word simps and people losing value and things like that. So let's kind of delve into this a little bit and kind of talk about, and I'll give you my stance. Of course, I'm not perfect, and of course, I'm just another person giving my opinion and giving my experiences. But I've had a lot of ups and downs, and created a lot of different behaviors over my life, and so I want to kind of share with you a little bit like that. And so first of all, I think the main thing is I want to share my appreciation for people taking the time out for my channel to go ahead and comment. So to Thelma, to Lynn, a lot of the people who may disagree with some of the things we're talking about, I appreciate that, because your time is valuable, and to have the urge and having God telling you this is time to write and say something, I appreciate that, and it probably gives me a little more clarity on things that I'm saying, because I may not be getting across the message that I'm trying to get across. So first of all, I appreciate that. Please don't stop doing that. Whether you like what I'm saying, whether you dislike what I'm saying, I appreciate the comments and feedback. And certainly, we have a lot of non-subscribers, so people coming in. So please go ahead and subscribe. And whether you agree or disagree, we may come to some better understanding of the issues going on out there. So, and it's certainly my interpretation of God, the Bible, all these type of things may be different depending on how I look at things compared to somebody else looks at things. So I first of all, before we start, I want to appreciate all the comments and feedback we get, and so that's why to people out there like Lynn and to Thelma, thank you. Please continue doing those type of things and commenting when you feel things are right or wrong, and I greatly appreciate that, because I do try to comment. I do try to do videos based on comments, and so let's delve into this a little bit. All right, so over my 60 years, I've had a lot of good situations and a lot of bad situations. And so I decided that I wanted to do a channel because I felt like there's a lot of behaviors out there that we're like normalizing. And I don't believe these are good behaviors for people. And so what I try to do then is to kind of do a channel in which I kind of express my viewpoint on these type of things, and then also generate discussion so that people can see those type of things. And so as I talk about these type of things, I believe there are people who are good people who have evil spirits, evil things that are inside of them, like we all do. We all have the potential to be good and bad. And I've had those good times in my life, and I have those times where I did things that I shouldn't have done. And I think there's different times that people capture those type of things, and spirits are inside of you. And I think you have the potential. I think the devil uses certain things in a certain way to be able to have you do, I call poor, bad behaviors, what do you want to call it, okay? So as I talk about this type of thing, what I'm going to first do is kind of separate out the person from the behavior. And I think this is crucial, Thelma. I don't think that I am saying at all that people are bad. I would not be starting a channel and talking to people hoping to get, older people, younger people, to see some of these viewpoints if I was going to hate on people. I know people do that. I'm not that type of person. I love each person. I try to love each person that I meet, whether I agree with them or not. And I think I've run into a lot of people over the years who just didn't like me or didn't like what I said. but it doesn't mean I'm going to waste my energy. And once again, I go back to this energy thing. I am not going to waste my energy kind of, being angry or upset with people who may disagree with me. So I'm not going to hate on people. So a person is not a bad person. So let me get that right. God did not create bad people. So, and I think, Thelma, you were mentioning that a little bit, and you're right. I mean, the words that I use are not reflecting of people. And I want to say that again. I mean, I'm not going to not love you, even though you may give an opinion that I don't agree with. Or you may have a lifestyle that I don't agree with. Though I don't agree with it, it doesn't mean I want to treat you badly. I'm trying not to do that. Now, am I perfect? Of course not. There's probably times that I get angry, of course, and things, and I don't do what I should be doing as well. And those are sins or things that I have to repent for and to do. But as I talk about this, it's important for me to separate out that I do not dislike anybody. I mean, I'm accepting of all people. Now, the behaviors, however, are things that I would not accept. And there's some behaviors that I've seen in the course of history and looking at people in the course of God and what I interpret the Bible as saying, that poor behaviors. And one of those things is retention, is fapping and pornography. And because of that, you become then a weaker person. What I mean by weaker is that you're more susceptible to doing temptations and poor behaviors. And so when I talk about simping, I'm basically talking about people, and it could be men, and most time it's men, but it could be women as well, that are actually doing behaviors that are not masculine or feminine. I really truly believe there is masculine and feminine energy. And I know in this society that marks me out as a person who is a radical or whatever it might be. But it's undeniable. It's been like this for thousands of years. And the biology goes back to the whole thing. And so even though you have males who are trying to have feminine qualities and they want to please females, and I understand some of that, but you also have females who have masculine qualities trying to also please men. I see that too. But what I'm really saying is that you have to have exerting males and female masculine and feminine frames. And if you don't have that, then in my viewpoint, that leads to a lot of disaster behaviors. And if you look at the Bible, it talks about what happens to people when they go off the edge and they're not really focusing on, men, being men and women being men. You start having a lot of lascivious behaviors, which we saw like in the Roman Empire, and the Bible talks about that. I mean, all you got to do is look at what happened with Babylon, Sodom and Gomorrah, the Roman Empire, the Greeks. All these places, they destructed from within when all of a sudden they changed the roles of people. And a lot of that came from being bored or not being excited enough and saying we got to do the next step. There's a great type of history of Caligula, who was one of the Roman emperors. And they weren't just happy with having, orgies and sex. Then they went to the next level, right? Killing animals, killing, kids and sacrificing and all this stuff, because what happened was you lose control and you don't become that person that you were before. And so we talk on this channel, and I'm trying to talk. Now, maybe it doesn't always come across, and so for that, Thelma, I say, please correct me if you think I'm wrong about that. I'm happy to do it, and please don't leave the channel and come back and view again. But the bottom line really is, guys, what I'm trying to do is go against behavior. And though Thelma, you may and I may disagree on this behavior, the idea to my mind is that you cannot have men who are acting more like women, and you can't have women acting more like men. It just does not work. Biologically, it doesn't work. And eventually, I have run into so many men who just are very frustrated, unhappy, not knowing why they're doing what they're doing. And I know a lot of women who do not want to be in roles of total responsibility. And so, they're single moms, or they're people who, even if they're corporate business women, they don't really want to be that single person and not have a masculine figure around. I mean, this is the way biologically we're built. And you could argue all you want about that, but I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that type of, having all these different types of, genders and things like that. I just don't believe in that. And I think that that's something that we have to face. And a lot of people, they may have different viewpoints than I, and that's, they're entitled to that. I'm not going to dislike them because of that. But on the other hand, I'm going to kind of say this is my opinion, and this is how I feel about the thing. So we go back to this whole thing, and I feel that, we have to look at the behaviors people do. And to me, those behaviors lead to self-destruction. If you're sitting there watching, porn, and you're sitting there, releasing energy, you're leading to self-destruction. If you're having multiple affairs and you're basically just kind of sleeping with anybody that comes along, and you think it's like great to have high body counts and things like this, I don't care if you're 20, 25, 30 years old, 50 years old, that's self-destructive. Gambling, self-destructive. All these things are very self-destructive. Now, you may feel, well, you can handle this because basically you don't do it very often. The same thing with drinking or eating. But the addictions are very strong. And I think when it comes down to it, I'm trying to kind of show that these are behaviors people need to stop. And once again, this is my opinion. But I think if you look at the history and you look at the way the world has and why these things have failed before, we're in a period of time where the United States is starting to self-destruct because of all these type of behaviors and the normalization of these behaviors. People think it's normal. And then once they start doing that, then you're going down a very hard slope, to normalizing things, with different types of things, all these kind of what I call deviant behaviors. And I know because, years ago, I've experienced a lot of these type of things or have seen people with these type of things, and it just does not work. It just destroys the soul, and it makes a person less, less godlike. And so one of the things, Thelma, that I try to do, especially when I'm in my late 50s, and try to figure out how can I get closer to God. And I'm not perfect, of course. And I think certainly there was no meaning on my part to construe that people are bad. I would never do that. Why would I do that? And that's kind of why I'm doing the channel. And I'm trying to help people. But on the other hand, I will disagree with you that these behaviors are not good behaviors. And I'm not sure how, I only read what you wrote to me, but I'm not totally sure how far into this you're talking about. But people do lose value. Not that they're bad people, but when it comes to relationships and things like that, people lose value with each other because they've slept with so many other people, or they're not acting in a masculine frame or a feminine frame. Okay. So I hope that clarifies a little bit what I'm talking about here. Once again, our channel really is dedicated to try to stop what I call bad behaviors. And it starts with this idea of celibacy. It starts with the idea of trying to get people to retain their seed, their energy. And this is male and female. So it doesn't matter who I'm talking. I just tend to have a larger male population viewing the show. But this is male and female. And the bottom line really is as you do these type of things, you have to realize that, you're losing energy by doing some self-destructive behavior. And it has to stop. And it took me many, many years to stop it. So I'm trying to give my experiences to do that. So, all right. So once again, but I appreciate your comments. Go ahead, continue to comment, and I'll respond in different ways as I can. And like I said, Baba had some nice comments the other day as well. So I'm going to go back to some of those, and we'll continue on. Until next time, guys. Battle on.